Hello everybody, this is our first video of 2011, and we have something very special planned for you. This is the Comics Video Game Special. For this episode, we decided to team up with our old friend Andre BlackNerdComedy, and so we decided we could talk about video games based on comics, or comics based on video games, and so that's exactly what we're going to do. Instead of like talking about, game of the year type thing, or comic book games just that came out this year, we're kind of talking about our favorite and least favorite comic book games of all time. My favorite Marvel games of all time are the Ultimate Alliance games. Y'all probably played them already, they're very popular. I probably like the first one more than the second one, but they're still both very fun. I personally love playing as Hulk, Spider-Man, Captain America, but then there are also people like Deadpool and Jean Grey, lesser known people who are a lot of fun to play as. And so definitely get these games if you haven't already. There are always some video games based on comics that you don't want to get. These are those games. So now I'm going to tell you all what my favorite comic book game of this year was, and that is Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. You can play as Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man 2099, Ultimate Spider-Man, or The Amazing Spider-Man. And so it's a lot of variety, and each one is like its own game pretty much. It includes a lot of cameos from other Marvel superheroes, and it's just different than any of the Spider-Man games we've had so far. And so definitely check this one out if you haven't already. It's really fun. I will show you all my favorite comic book video game of all time, and I think that I share it with Richard. It is Batman Arkham Asylum. Not only is this the best Batman game ever, this is just my favorite comic book game ever. This story, first of all, is great, which is hard to find in a video game based on a comic book. The whole detective mode, I don't know, I love the game, and I cannot wait for Arkham City to come out. So if you haven't played this, what's wrong with you? Go get it right now. It's amazing. It's my favorite comic book video game of all time. Yep, so that's it from me. So now I'm gonna pass it on to my friend Richard.
And it's been passed. I got it. And Carter is right. Yes, my favorite comic book video game of all time, same as his, is Batman Arkham Asylum. And I also got the special collector's edition. It's pretty heavy though. I mean, not too heavy, but it's pretty clunky. And the special edition comes with this Batarang, which I kind of took out the stand because I wanted to throw it at people, but I don't recommend that at all because it doesn't come back when you throw it like a regular Batarang does. And you throw it at somebody, they'll be able to pick it up after it hits the ground and throw it back at you. Yeah. Glass houses and whatnot, But it is a cool way to ward off burglars. I'm Batman! Don't mess with me! But in all honesty, DC Comics only really has one amazing video game. The rest just are downright terrible. However, that might change from 1 to 2 now that DC Universe Online's out now. Haven't played it yet because I don't have a PlayStation 3 and I'm terrible at PC games. I've heard a lot of good things. I heard it's fun. I heard it's amazing, but that was just from friends. I haven't read any critical analysis or anything like that, but hopefully it gets some good ratings because we need more than one good game on the DC Comics side of things, people. Come towards a certain month in this year, Arkham City is going to be coming out, and we might have 3 good games on our side now. But Arkham City just looks amazing. I cannot wait for it, and I'm so glad that Hugo Strange is going to be the main villain because rarely ever have I ever seen that character used in adaptations of the Batman comics ever. He's been used in the cartoon shows and stuff like that, but that makes sense. But he hasn't been used in video games or, in the movies or nothing. But he's a character I think that's coming back because he's being used in Arkham City and allegedly he's going to possibly be used in the new Batman movie, which would be awesome. But in all honesty, that's really all I gotta say. There's really nothing else I can talk about except for, the fact that Superman Returns' is video game as a tornado as the main boss. I don't know why I'm mentioning that, I just think that's a really terrible way to end a video game. Anyways, I'm just gonna stop ranting about randomness stuff and just pass it over to Andre so he can give you guys his opinion of video games that are turned into comic books.
Greetings, Internet. I am Andre, aka Black Nerd of BlackNerdComedy. Now, I know this episode of Comics has been talking about comic books that turn into video games, but I'm going to give you kids a little history lesson about video games that turn into comics. This is what I like to refer to as merchandising, or what some people might say on the streets, whoring out. How can I get people to buy things that Super Mario Bros. Related without actually making more video games? That's where merchandising comes in. So that's when you start seeing like, hey, you like Super Mario Brothers video games? Then you're really gonna love Super Mario Brothers drinks. That's right, Yoshi's on a can, and it's apple flavored. And since the industry knows that we're geeks, they decide, hey, comic books and video games go hand in hand, so why don't we take some video game properties and turn them into comics? If you grew up like I did, then the first time you ever saw a video game turn into a comic book was probably reading issues of Nintendo Power magazine. They used to have a little 2-page spread in there called Howard and Nestor. They had these 2-page panels where they would have adventures, and they were always based on whatever video game was out or popular at the time. Nestor, of course, making little wisecracking jokes about, this thing, Nestor was weird. Nestor had like this big head and he had like red hair, but it was kind of bald here, but then he had like just 3 spikes that just came out. It was so 80s and 90s, dude, like extreme. Don't listen to your parents. Go see Batman, directed by Tim Burton. It was a really cool comic book. Eventually it stopped, and eventually they made these comics known as Super Mario Adventures. They were these really interesting, cool, kind of manga-style comics all about Super Mario Brothers, and it was around the time that Super Mario World came out because it was Yoshi in the comics as well. Now you're probably thinking at this point, whoa, wait a second. The first time I saw Super Mario Brothers in a comic was not in an issue of Nintendo Power. Then you are right. Because at that time, Valiant Comics had made this completely different series known as the Nintendo Comics System. This was Nintendo's thing at the time. So anytime they came out with something with Nintendo in it, they figured they had to put system along with it. So you had the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Nintendo Cereal System, the Nintendo Comic System. I'm pretty sure if there was a computer made, there'd be a Nintendo Computer System, Nintendo Furniture System, Nintendo Condom System, who knows? The Nintendo Comic System, like this book right here, had all kinds of different properties, such as The Legend of Zelda, Punch-Out, because everyone wants to read a Punch-Out comic. Gee, I wonder how that's going to end. Probably the most interesting comic from the Nintendo Comic System was a Game Boy comic. The whole storyline was about this kid who had a Game Boy, and magically Mario from Super Mario Land, if you remember that, came to life and popped out of the Game Boy, but so did Princess Daisy and the villain of that time, which was like some purple thing. I can't remember his name, like Tatunga or something like that, Topanga, who cares? This was their way to sell the Game Boy. It makes absolutely no sense. Nowadays, it'd probably be an actual movie that you would see in theaters, but at the time, it really made absolutely no sense, but that was the storyline. Hey, Mario, you jumped out of my Game Boy. Great, can we mention Game Boy 10 more times while I'm making this comic? Perfect, that's all I care about. But it's not gonna stop there, people. People are still making comic books that are based on video game properties. It's actually becoming a regular thing now. There's been Halo comics, there's been Silent Hill comics. Soon we'll probably see Little Big Planet comics, Ratchet and Clank comics, God of War comics. That one probably even exists already. Look it up, Wikipedia. I don't have time to look for it. I've got other things to do, like watch the final episode of Hannah Montana forever. Well, that's it. That's all I got to say about video games turning into comics. It's just a great way for people who have more money than you to make even more money off of your money. So thanks for supporting it.
Okay, so that wraps up our 2011 comics video game special. Thank you so much, Black Nerd, for being in our video. That means a lot to us. Please check out his channel, BlackNerdComedy. He's freaking hilarious. He out-nerds us by like 1,000, so please check him out.
Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, because, you know, we have those things. And yes, as Carter said, subscribe to Black Nerd Comedy. He is hilarious. He has a brand new video out where he bids farewell to a fair maiden in blonde hair that has the best of both worlds. Also, in the comment section below, tell Carter and I who you think deserves a video game adaptation of all the comic book characters out there, or even who deserves a better video game adaptation. Do you think that maybe there should finally be a Green Lantern video game, because that would be awesome, that's not based on the movie? Or do you think maybe Spider-Man deserves a better video game adaptation? The only reason I said Spider-Man is because I wanted to show the new Spider-Man picture, so. It looks pretty cool, I like it.
Please continue to watch us every week, and we'll be back with a new video next Friday, so see ya.